Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, we're essentially at the halfway point of USC's spring camp. Pretty hard to believe that we're already there. We're breaking down the news that we've heard from the Trojans so far.
Yeah, this will be a fun episode. I'm excited. When we were putting together the script with this, we were talking about, where we could go with it. We've got some fun quotes to talk about, right? And it's tough right now because there's no video, and there's some clips here and there, but we can't really see what's going on inside the walls of Howard Jones. But there's been some great quotes by Lincoln Riley, some of the players, some of the new faces on this team that we'll get to talk about. We're also playing a game
I know,
in this
I'm
episode.
excited.
I'm going to learn about the game, too. We've never played before. Keely texted me yesterday and said, would you be interested in playing a game where I read you a quote and then you try to figure out who said it? So she put that together. Yeah, it's a quiz. And I'm going to give a brief moment between answering so that you can play at home as well. So I'm excited. And then we have a topic that came up yesterday. There was a lot of controversy on Instagram, on Twitter, some armchair referees about a touchdown or interception between Jacoby Lane and DeCarlos Nicholson that we'll break down a little bit. And we've got some great questions as well. So I'm excited for this episode. If you haven't heard our spring preview, we put that out about a week and a half ago, I think is when it came out. So it tells you everything you need to know. And this is kind of an updated episode about some of the storylines so far this spring.
For sure. Excited to dive into it. Before we do, just a couple reminders. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you ever want to get your voice heard, as Cody said, we have questions today. You can look out for a question box or a tweet either on Twitter or Instagram. Our socials are VictoryPodUSC. You can also send us a text that's in the audio description of the audio version of this show. And before we get into it, Cody, another fun update coming from you.
Yeah, I got invited back to Good Morning Football, so I will be doing that again. And I'm just bringing it up here or announcing it here because of the support I got from all our Victory Pod listeners, all the USC fans. It was so cool when I was posting some of those clips on Instagram or the Good Morning Football Twitter or Instagram was posting on their socials, and you could see our listeners in the comment section and just giving support. So that was awesome. But yeah, so I've done it before. If you guys didn't know, I did it a couple weeks ago. I was on for 2 straight weeks. Now I'll be doing it the week of the draft. So that'll be April 21st, April 22nd. That's a Monday and Tuesday, the week of the draft. So they're going to do a little draft special. I get to co-host and talk about some college players and what to look forward to. So I'm excited.
Very excited for you, Cody. So his schedule is kind of all over the place as he prepares for that. So not sure when we will be back with the episode with Cody, but I will be doing podcasting still. So stay tuned for that. But very excited for you, Cody. I always said the Victory Pod listeners they show out and they're very supportive, and I'm very happy about that.
And it's on, I don't think I said it, but it's on NFL Network, and it airs from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. West Coast, and then obviously on the Eastern time zone, it'll be from 8 to noon. So if you're on the West Coast, if you can't get up that early, make sure you record it and check it out. But again, thank you guys for all the support, and it'll be another fun 2 days to get to be on that show again.
They call it Good Morning Football for a reason.
For a reason. I wouldn't mind if it was Good Afternoon Football, and we did a little bit later. But no, it's a fun episode. It's a fun show. Get to talk about USC football as well a little bit, and some of the guys to look forward to in the draft.
Exciting. We'll definitely tune in and support our guy, Cody. Excited for you as always. Alrighty, let's jump into the meat and potatoes of the episode. It's funny, Cody, I didn't really even fully clock it until Riley said it on Tuesday at practice. He was like, we're essentially at the halfway point. And I was like, wait a minute, are we? So he gave an assessment of what he's thought about the Trojans so far. What's interesting is, he said they're progressing well, they're moving in the right direction, but he said they're actually able to slow down a little bit because they don't have the spring game, where he said they're trying to get a certain amount of scrimmages in before that spring game, so now they can do a little bit slower with situational drills and installs. So I was curious to your thoughts about that, Cody.
Look, I hate it for the fans that there is no spring game, right? And I enjoyed it so much, getting to go out there on the field and play in front of some of the fans that came out there, and then afterwards sign autographs, take pictures, and heard some great stories from Trojan fans and people a part of the Trojan family for decades about some of the experiences they had in the Coliseum. So I hate it that we don't get to have that experience, but I do love it from a developmental standpoint for your football team, like Coach Riley just mentioned. Right now you can really slow things down. You don't feel like you're rushed, and you have to install the entire playbook on both sides of the ball, so you're getting ready to squeeze in a scrimmage on practice 13 or 14, and then you have to go put a product on the field for a live televised spring game. For some of these young guys, it's going to be their first time in the Coliseum, so there's some added pressure. Now you can dial all that back, right? Really focus on areas and situations that you need to put more of an emphasis on and go over those on multiple practices. And what I mean by that is if you go out on day 4 install and say that's a third down situation, right? We're working on 3rd and long and the offense struggles that day or the defense doesn't do a great job. You don't feel that pressure of being on crunch time to where, okay, well now we've got to go to day 5 and we'll come back to that when we can. Let's go day 4 again, right? Come out there on Thursday after a Tuesday practice, go over third down again to where everyone feels comfortable and they're on the same page. And then we'll get to day 5, which is maybe red zone and short yardage install. So I love that point of it. And then, like I said, those 14 practices leading up to the spring game are far, far more important than the actual spring game itself. Now you take the spring game out of it. That is more true now than ever, and you can put a lot more emphasis on those practices.
So in that regard, we got a question from John who said, is the elimination of the spring game a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it depends on who you ask, right?
Fair.
The fans, and I understand and I hate it for them, but the fans are going to miss it. The fans that did get to go, and I get that it's in the middle of Los Angeles, so it was difficult. We weren't selling out the Coliseum for every spring game, but there are a lot of faithful fans that went every single year and made it a tradition. But I think from the coaches and the player standpoint, like I just mentioned, they like it a little bit more because there's more focus on practice. The coaches have been paranoid about the portal and putting things on tape that they don't want other teams to see. So I think they like it, and that's why it's becoming a trend in the college football world right now of getting rid of the spring game. But yeah, I'm 50-50 too. I'm torn. If you ask me personally, I'm going to miss it because of the reasons I said of getting to take pictures and talk to the fans and hear stories from the Trojan family. But also I understand getting to put more emphasis on the practices and not being secretive, but hiding some of your good players that are going to be here for the next couple of years.
Well, if you listen to our preview podcast, we talked about one of our biggest questions was offensive line. Yeah. Who's even starting where? That was exactly what I said. Well, it seems like we're getting a better sense of it. We heard from Coach Riley on Tuesday that Tobias Raymond and Justin Tawanu'u are stepping up in that right tackle competition, so much so that Riley said that they are 2 starters. So are we even looking at them competing for right tackle, or will they move around? It's interesting how that's developing, Cody.
Yeah, so first off, this is a great problem to have right now when you have 2 guys that are playing at a high level, because when you have a position battle and the coach doesn't know who's ahead of the other guy and he can't make a decision, it's because of 2 reasons. 1, both guys are struggling and no one's separating themselves. Or 2, both guys are playing at such a high level that the coach can't decide who's ahead of the other, right? And it sounds like it's the latter right now with these 2, which is, again, like I said, a great problem to have. Now, I went back and watched the Texas A&M film last night. I went back and watched that game because it was a game where both of them played at the same time. Yeah. Right? We had Tobias Raymond at right tackle, and then Justin Tawanu'u came in for Elijah Page after he got hurt at left tackle in that game. And I started with Tobias Raymond. And I watched a little bit of the Michigan game as well. He struggled early on in the season in that game, but you could see his development throughout the year. He played great in that Texas A&M game. I think Tobias Raymond has a very bright future. I love his versatility too. He's built like a tackle, but he moves like a guard a little bit. So you can move him inside if need be. He can play in multiple different spots, and that's important because when you have so many different offensive line combinations like we're going to have this year, if guys get hurt, if guys move around, that allows Tobias Raymond to move to different spots, and he can play a lot more. And then watching Justin Tawanu'u, I'm so excited about his future. I really am. I knew nothing about him. I didn't even know where he was from. I had to look up from Huntington Beach, a freshman. I didn't know a lot about his background, and he gets thrown into the fire in that Texas A&M game, and that's difficult. If you go out and you get told like at the beginning of the week, hey, you're starting this week. Okay, you have a couple days to prepare. It's still not easy because you're getting your first live game action. But when you go the entire week as the backup and then a guy gets hurt and now you get thrown in the fire with no reps with the first unit and you go out and perform like he did, that is so impressive. Has great hands, right? He's long, he's tall, he's lengthy. What I mean by that is he gets his arms extended before the defensive lineman can get to him, and then he can control them from there. Great in run game, very athletic with pulling and moving around. We know how important that is in Lincoln Riley's offense. So that's great to see. And that's going to be a big position to watch, right? And I think the most interesting thing about that, and another quote that Coach Riley mentioned on this topic was, we're focused on these guys at right tackle, but we're also going to pay attention to other position battles up front, which will play a factor in how that decision breaks down. Interesting to me that's for him to say that. And what I took from that is either 2 things. 1, Tobias or Justin Tawanu'u will play another position if one of the guy wins, or if one of the other guy obviously is going to win the job. They can move around. Or 2, who do they play better with at right guard? What combination of 4 guys next to them do they play better with, right? If this guy wins the spot at right guard or this guy wins at center or left guard, does Tawanu'u play better with this unit? Tobias Raymond play better at this unit? So that was interesting that Coach Riley said that. And one other thing before we move on from offensive line I thought was interesting, Lonnie Noah right now at left guard. DJ Wingfield came in from Purdue, and he's at right guard. Noah was at right guard a year ago, so they moved him around a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's set in place, but there's going to be a lot of musical chairs up front, but it is a good problem to have right now in spring, right? With season a long ways away, when you have two guys that potentially could become starters at the right tackle spot.
Well, once again, Cody, you're right alongside the coaching staff of what they're saying. Coach Riley said on Tuesday, he highlighted Tobias's versatility, and that's exactly what you just said. He said it's super important for them, and like you said, playing musical chairs, you want a guy like Tobias, but Riley went further than that. He said he's one of our best offensive linemen, and he's established himself as that this spring. So big leaps for Tobias, which is great. What you want to see?
I'm serious. I mean, go back and watch the film. And I know it's been a concern before. Oh, we're not recruiting great in the trenches. Oh, it's the Big Ten. Oh, there's young guys. And we saw Elijah Page early in the season struggle. Lonnie Noah struggled. He was splitting reps at that right guard spot. He wasn't even a solidified starter, but we saw their development because these coaches are recruiting the right way, and they're getting guys here that can come in and play. Not everybody's going to be ready as a freshman. Not everybody's going to be ready as a sophomore, right? You're not going to reach your full potential as soon as you step foot on campus. It's going to take time, and for some guys it takes a little bit longer, but we are doing a great job right now with this and both sides of the ball. I know we're going to talk D-line in a little bit, but developing these young guys, going out and getting great transfer players in the portal, and we're seeing that pay off right now with a great competition at right tackle.
And one final point before we move on, I thought it was interesting. We got to talk to Justin for the first time since he did play in that bowl game, and he was asked, did anything surprise you about that game? Because it was his first real significant snaps at the collegiate level, and he said, actually, it was the fact that practices are harder than the games. He said, I really pride myself on practicing hard, so I was surprised that being thrown into that bowl game, it was easier than practice,
and that's
impressive in that regard.
That's a very good SEC Texas A&M defense. I know they were missing some of their first-round talent in that game, but that's still a good defensive front. But that's how it should be here at USC, right? When you have the type of players that we're recruiting right now, when I was here going against Sua Craven and Hayes Pollard and Nikel Roby-Coleman and Devon Kennard every single day at practice, it made the games easy. Now, that's not always true. You're going to play some great competition, but you could really feel that when you busted your tail on Sunday through Friday and had ones versus ones and those one-on-one competitions and the 9-on-7s and the running backs and linebackers going full speed ahead and blocking on Wednesday practices to where you got to the games, it felt easier because you were already prepared throughout the week. So I love that. It sounds like Coach Riley is making that a point of emphasis to ramp up the competition this year. And that's what it should be. When you play at a place like USC with the talent that's on this roster and the guys that we're going to continue to bring in and recruit, the game days should be easier than the practices.
Alrighty, well, I want to move into our next topic, but before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. What you expect from an SUV is a range of sizes to fit your lifestyle. Expectations matter, but exceeding them matters more. The Audi family of SUVs, progress you can feel. So the next one is a newsy item in the sense that USC made another support staff hire. They hired a director of football analytics. Connor McQuiston is, I believe, how you pronounce it. And Riley was asked about it on Tuesday. He said, it was interesting. He said it mainly involves roster management. I would think, football analytics, you're thinking of like fourth and whatever do we go. But no, it's more about personnel, roster management, and the recruiting side of things. Yeah,
I'm glad Coach Riley clarified that as well, because the first thing I thought of when he said an analytical hire was someone that's going to be in charge of scouting the teams that we're playing and going and looking at third down and fourth down situations, and which we still have. We do have that department, but this is from the analytics side of recruiting and roster management, which is important. And I like the move if it makes sense, if it's going to make our team better, if it's going to help us get closer to winning championships, then we have to go out there and get it done. And Coach Riley mentioned that when he first hired Chad Bowden, this is something that they collectively talked about, wanting to add an analytical side to recruiting, to roster management, to putting the right guys on this football team. So I'm glad they got it done. And I'll say this, one of the things I did have a concern with early on was too many voices when it came to deciding who to offer, who to put on this roster, who to retain. And when you bring in Chad Bowden, when you have Coach Riley, is it going to be 50-50 on the decisions? Are they ever going to butt heads? Is there going to be some concern about who has the final say? That has all been put to bed for me at this point. Chad Bowden has been absolutely phenomenal with what he's been able to do. Yeah. I wish so badly we could talk about the 2026 recruiting class and the things that are happening, because it's so exciting and just there's a lot of great momentum here at USC. But Chad Bowden and Coach Riley have been great in working together. And we had Chad Bowden on Trojans Live the other day, and I asked him that. How does that relationship work hand in hand? And he said, look, Coach Riley and I are on the same page, and if we're not, we find common ground to get the job done, because both of our main goals are to win championships here at USC. When you work for a common goal with someone in the same building, you continue to build that relationship. And there's going to be some back and forth. Don't get me wrong. It's not always going to be perfect. But when you work together and you build that rapport and that chemistry, you can make great decisions for your football team. It sounds like Connor is going to be a great asset to that room. And again, another voice. But the way it's been handled so far, I do think he's going to add some positivity to that room and help them get to where they want to be.
I also feel like this is another support staff move that is just a reflection of the sign of the times, in the sense that roster management, like, I just think of ROI. Now that there is NIL deals, money involved, and now with the House settlement coming down the pipeline, hopefully we'll still see how that happens. But like, you're going to assess a guy's market value. Like, you need guys like Connor on your staff to make sure that you're making the right moves. So it's a crazy era that we're in right now.
It's the NFL NCAA, Keely. That's what we're doing right now. It's all NFL. This is just a carbon copy of what happens in the NFL, but that's how college football is trending, and that's the direction that it's going in. If you don't keep up and you get behind the curve, you're going to get left behind.
Well, if you can believe it, the transfer portal window is opening once again, the spring window. It's from April 16th to April 25th, and Riley gave some insight on the strategy that USC is going to have for this window, and it fits with what Bowden said in his intro presser. He said, we're going to major in high school recruiting, minor in the portal. It sounds like they're going in that direction for this window. And it was interesting. We talked in our preview episode, Cody, about one of the concerns you had was the depth at linebacker. He said they definitely want to attack that issues with the portal window, but he said he doesn't really expect too much from USC, just attacking those depth issues.
Yeah, I'm glad Coach Riley mentioned that, because it's been, I don't want to say a glaring issue, but something that we've been concerned a little bit about, and we talked about it last episode, was there are some great, talented players in that room. We just need to add some depth behind them, right? And whether that's going out and getting some veteran players at that linebacker spot, going to get a young guy with a lot of potential that can come in and learn. But I do think we need to add at least one or two more faces to that linebacker room. Now, I love Eric Gentry. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player this year, especially getting to learn under Rob Ryan, which is going to be great. By the way, let me pause for a second. We had Rob Ryan on the show the other day, and I know you've seen him before, talked to him in the press conference. That was my first time getting to talk to him in person. Just an unbelievable person. I mean, he is exactly what is advertised on the interviews, on TV, on camera, the exact same off camera.
Because it's him.
That's who he is.
He is himself.
I love it. And authenticity is so important in this sport. It's so valuable, and he has that. And he also spoke very highly of Desmond Stevens. And I don't want to pat my own back, but I did say, and it's too early to tell, but if Rob Ryan thinks he's a great player, the two-time Super Bowl winning champion Rob Ryan, who's going to be a Hall of Famer,
pretty good indication,
thinks that Desmond Stevens is going to be a phenomenal football player, then I'm going to ride with that, and I'm going to agree with him. But I do think Stevens will be a breakout star this year. Now, I don't know if he'll quite be MVP with a defense that has Eric Gentry and Kamari Ramsey and some dogs up front, but I'm excited to see how he develops this year. But after that, it is wide open, right? And you have Elijah Newby, who is that linebacker now. He moves to defensive end, so you lose a spot there. Yeah. You bring down Anthony Beavers Jr. from safety to linebacker, but we talked about he's that hybrid type player. He can be a little bit more of an athlete on those nickel situations when we come in there, and you want a bigger body that can maybe tackle but also can cover in space. But he is not your prototypical Big Ten size linebacker. Not saying he can't be a great player, but there's going to be a little bit of adjustment when you make a position change, especially in this type of conference. And then a guy that Rob Ryan spoke about was Jaden Walker, a younger freshman player who he's excited about for his future. It's still just not enough, right? You've got to add a couple more faces in that room, because Gentry and Stevens and guys like that, they can't play every single down. And you also want to have multiple packages to where you're not too predictable, where it's just Stevens and Gentry every single play. You want to have other guys in that you can rotate and play multiple different packages and show different looks to opposing teams, opposing offenses, to make it confusing. And then the last thing I'll say about this portal topic is, and I think it's very interesting and important that Coach Riley said this. Now, obviously, he mentioned linebackers. That's more of a depth issue. But outside of that, he said there's not a lot of things that need to be addressed in the portal, which tells me that guys are developing the right way, that they're bringing the right guys in from the transfer portal, that the younger freshman players are now getting a chance to go out there and play and step up, like the Christian Pierce, the Marcellus Williams. Guys on this roster, they're getting an opportunity. They're coming out and performing now, because when you have these transfer portal windows, especially in the spring, right? You get a chance to see your guys in the spring. If you see some glaring issues, if you see some guys that maybe aren't quite ready, if you see the lack of talent and productivity right now at some position groups, your first thought is, all right, well, we've got to go to the portal and get someone immediately to address that issue. He doesn't see that this year. And I'm not saying that's been the case in years past, but now Coach Riley, being here his fourth year, has had a chance to recruit his guys, develop his guys. He's got a phenomenal coaching staff around him. And if I'm a parent, or if I'm someone that's helping out a recruit, or I'm a coach, and USC comes to my town or comes to my school and says, hey, we want to recruit your kid, my first question is, how do you develop young players? And now you're seeing that pay off with all the guys that are on this roster. So I thought that was very important to see and for Coach Riley to say that. And I'm excited to the direction that not only this roster, but this team's going in.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. That was a good point, Cody.
Yep.
All right, I want to move us over to defensive backs. More specifically, Riley gave an update about how some of the transfers are gelling so far with the team, DJ Harvey and Bishop Fitzgerald. It's interesting, Cody, because I feel like he described both ends of the spectrum when it comes to DB
100%.
personalities. It was really funny to me. So I'll break it down. Harvey, he described high energy, competitive, strong daily presence on the field. And then Bishop, he said he's a steady, calm guy. He communicates exceptionally well. So both personalities you want in your DBs.
And you know what? That's exactly what you want on your defense, right? You want a corner, and I flash back to being in Jacksonville, going against Jalen Ramsey every day, right? You want your corner to be cocky, talking trash. I want you to rattle the quarterback before every single play, right? Let them know that you're out there. Now, you have to back it up.
Of course.
You've got to be able to go out there and cover. You can't get beat, play after play. If you're on one-on-ones, you can be physical. You can talk that trash, but your play has to back it up. And from what I've seen on film of DJ Harvey, I fully believe he's going to do that. But that's what you want from your corner, right? I want you to bring the juice every single day at practice, be loud, let everyone know when you enter Howard Jones Field that you're there and you're going to compete today. And then you go to the safety, right? Then I think of TJ McDonald or Taylor Mays, just a calm, cool, stone cold killer back there that, okay, he's going to be quiet. He's not going to say a whole lot. But then when the lights turn on and things start happening, you fear that man and you are worried and you're terrified to go across the middle of the field because Bishop Fitzgerald's back there. It's almost more scary when they're quiet and go about their business and don't make a lot of noise, like
Silent
an Ed Reed type, right? In that back at the safety spot. Troy Polamalu, another guy who's not going to say a whole lot, but then when the lights turn on,
you feel him.
You're terrified. Yeah, you feel him. So I love that for both those guys, and we did a little breakdown on them, but I think they're going to be standout players this year. Bishop Fitzgerald, coming from North Carolina State, very physical, played down close to the box a lot, 7 tackles for loss as a safety. That is unbelievable. And in Danton Lynn's defense, he's going to send a safety off the edge on 1st and 10, on a random 2nd and 5. When you have a safety like Bishop Fitzgerald that can do that, it's going to be great to add that to the run game. Also, Christian Pierce is another guy he's going to compete with, so keep an eye on that spot. And then DJ Harvey for me right now. I think the corner spot right now with the guys that we lost is going to be interesting to see who that 1st and 2nd guy are, who the starters are going to be out there. But there's also that nickel spot open. So you can have 3 guys that are going to rotate. But DJ Harvey for me right now, outside of maybe DeCarlos Nicholson and Marcellus Williams, guys that are returners, DJ Harvey's a favorite for me right now to be that lockdown corner this year. Now, obviously, he has the attitude to back it up, but he played great at San Jose State, very good at pass breakups, getting his hand on the football, had 4 interceptions a year ago, not afraid to come down and be physical in the run game. So I'm glad that both of these guys are making an impact early on because those are 2 very important transfers going into this fall.
Also, while we're on the topic of DBs, I just want to say, sometimes I peruse the comments, and I forgot where it was, but someone was kind of upset that we weren't giving Kamari Ramsey praise. And someone,
what?
Yes, I know. And then someone responded and said, what's understood doesn't need to be said. And that's kind of the gist of it. Like, we are big Kamari Ramsey fans here and have talked multiple times about how important it was.
I said last week or on the episode, I remember saying specifically that I was ready to shake his hand, pat his back, and say, go tear it up in the NFL. And I don't think anyone would have blamed him. He would have been at minimum a day 2 pick. What I mean by that is a 2nd or 3rd round pick. And I think he would have been a little bit higher than that after he goes through the draft process and the combine and the pro day. And then I think he would have been a star in the NFL. His game is going to translate so well to the NFL. It's like a Kalen Bullock, right? Going to be a 2nd, 3rd round pick, day 2 type guy, but I think he can be an immediate starter. We saw the success that Bullock had this year with the Houston Texans. Kamari Ramsey is next in line to go do that. So I don't know where that's coming from. I'm fully on board with Kamari Ramsey. I've been hyping him up. I think he is I know he is the most important player on this defense because of the experience that he has with Danton Lynn. He is an extension of Lynn on the field, and his play backs it up as well.
Now, the final topic I want to mention is just what we're hearing about the battle in the trenches. Obviously, we've talked about how USC's added more size on its defensive line. Apparently, they're feeling it, especially when they're doing, one-on-one battles. Justin Tawanuu said on Tuesday that It's the most competitive he's had since he's been here, which, again, he's a redshirt freshman, so not a large sample size, but still notable in that regard. But Riley said a couple weeks ago, he said it's not a lightweight situation.
Yeah.
He said it's two heavyweights going at it, and you can feel the punches. So you love that. Justin also said it's iron sharpens iron, which is a phrase we've heard a lot here at USC, but it's cool to see that that's really paying off.
Yeah, and the most important part for me is Coach Riley said, too, it's not just one guy. It's multiple guys. And it felt like in years past, it was like, okay, this was the dominant guy up front, and then we got some young guys around him. We don't really know how that depth's going to play out. That's been a concern on the defensive line. Are there enough guys that can come in and compete if there's injuries with rotational guys and all of that? That is not the case this year. A huge shout out to Coach Henderson, to Coach Nua, what they've done with this defensive line. Coach Lynn, they had a vision in place on retaining these younger guys, but also going out and getting some dogs in the portal, which they did with Jamal Jarrett and Keyshawn Silver. I also love what Jamal Jarrett said, and I mentioned this briefly at the top of the show about, Coach Henderson and how he was going through that portal process. As soon as he talked to Coach Hinney, he was done. He said, I'm good. I want to go play for that man. And then I got here, and the way that he develops his players, the way that he's helped me take that next step and reach that next level in only a short amount of time has been very impressive. So I'm excited about that. I said it before. I'll say it again. I will always say this. If you want to compete in the Big Ten, it starts up front in the trenches on the offensive line, on the defensive line. If you can't control the line of scrimmage in the Big Ten, you're not going to be able to play for conference championships, and you're sure as hell not going to be able to go play for a national championship, right? You've got to be able to be dominant up front, especially in this era of college football. So that's great to see. I was concerned at first, after last year, maybe even last season. Are we going to be able to develop these young guys the right way? Are we going to have enough depth? Are we going to be able to retain all the guys that are in that room? We're losing some new. It was just, there's a lot of concern going on. That is out the window. This is the best I've felt about our offense and defensive line since Coach Riley has been here. And not only the first group, but the second group and the third group and the Jakeem Stewart, right? The young guys and the way that Cameron Fountain and Jade Abasiri and Devin Tompkins, the way that those guys are going to develop. And then some of the offensive linemen, like we mentioned, Tobias Raymond, Justin Taunu, young guys, Elijah Page, a young guy, a potential All-American this year, in my opinion. I think he's doing that well. Alani Noah, another young guy, right? So we're starting to see what Coach Riley and his staff can do when they get guys on their roster for a couple years, when they can go recruit their own guys and develop them, and it's really paying off in the trenches. And the competition level is at an all-time high. That's what you want. You don't want to be given a job up front because someone leaves and you're just the next guy in line. You want to go earn that spot instead of having it given to you.
100%. Alrighty, Cody, I'm really excited and I can't wait. I want to transition us to our game portion of the show, the quiz portion.
Well,
okay.
I was going to say this too while you're going. I don't want to interrupt you because you were rolling, but some of these quotes you keep reading me from Justin and Coach Riley, and unfortunately, I didn't get to go see him because you told me don't go to Twitter and don't listen to the quotes because I'm going to quiz you. And you're telling me, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's awesome.
So sorry.
And I'm like, I hope that's not in the quiz.
I unintentionally made you unprepared for our podcast.
I know.
But anything for games.
No, I'm ready. Okay. I've actually been very excited about this. I'm way too competitive, disclaimer. So
really?
I'm going to be locked in on this, and I'm going to compete against you at home. I'm going to give you a second or two to guess, and then we'll be ready to go.
And let us know if you have like a score or if you get it right or not.
Be honest, too. Don't try to one-up me if you're lying.
Okay, I'm going to start you off easy, and I'm going to tell you who said this. It's Lincoln Riley, and he's talking about someone, a Trojan. Okay. He said he's an impressive guy. He's smooth. He makes a lot of things look pretty easy. He's kind of one of those guys that almost doesn't look like they're trying that hard. Obviously, he is, but he just kind of has that effortless quality to him, and he's done a good job coming in and learning our stuff, which seems like a tell there.
Oh, okay. So it's obviously a freshman or a transfer. That could be anyone, though.
I know,
that was like a perfect description. My mind immediately went to wide receiver.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's going to be correct. And the reason I think of wide receivers because we had a guy on Trojans Live earlier this week.
Prince.
Yeah, Prince. Well, you said his name, so I'm guessing probably that's not it.
Oh, that's correct.
So I'm going to keep going elsewhere, and that's what I would have said.
Sorry.
Initially, but I'm not going to say that.
Yes.
Smooth. Read it to me one more time. Give me one more time, and then I'll guess. I won't take forever. Give me one more time, and I'll guess.
He's an impressive guy.
Okay.
He's smooth, makes a lot of things look pretty easy.
Okay.
He's one of those guys that it almost looks like he's not trying that hard. Obviously, he is, but he kind of has an effortless quality to him, and he's done a good job coming in and learning our stuff.
It's got to be a skill position if he's smooth and effortless, because you wouldn't say that about a D-line or a linebacker being physical. Okay, I'm going to go running back. I'm going to go Wayman Jordan.
Ding, ding, ding.
Is it right?
You got it.
Let's
Congrats.
go. Okay.
Technically, that's like a half point.
That's half a point because I was going to go Prince Strawn until you said his name, and I'm like, all right, she wouldn't have gave it to me.
I thought you were blanking on his name, and I was trying to help you out.
No, I was trying to lead up to saying I wasn't going to say him and going with Wayman Jordan. Okay, I'm going with Wayman Jordan.
Look,
that's still good, though.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm very proud of you. Okay.
And that's good to hear because he was on Trojans Live as well a couple weeks ago. And please, just again, go watch his tape. I'm very high on him. He went to Hutchinson Community College. Check it out. It's on Huddle. I think he's going to be a star on this offense.
Okay, do you want to know who said this?
It's your game. It's your game. You tell me.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley said this once again. He said he's been really good, which we weren't shocked by. He played more special teams reps last year than any player on the team. You could tell he was starting to settle in defensively, kind of there at the end.
He played more special teams reps, so that's got to be a defensive back because linebackers, D-line, I don't think he's going to say that about maybe blocking kicks or something or field goal or blocking field goals. So I'm going to go defensive back. My first thought, because I'm a fan of him, was Prophet Brown, but I don't think that's who it is.
Don't look at me because I apparently give away answers.
Okay, I know. I'm over here. I'm over here searching for some clues.
I know you are.
Okay, I'm gonna go with, because I know he's spoken highly about him this spring. I'm gonna go with another guy that I've spoken very highly about. I'm gonna go Christian Pierce.
Winner.
Is that right?
You
okay,
got it.
let's
well
go.
Done.
All right.
Now, if anyone's like a super studious listener of our show, I believe I actually talked about this quote a couple weeks ago.
That one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is that why it clicked? Because I immediately was like, okay, it's going to be a DB. I was like, and my mind was like, was it Prophet Brown or Christian Pierce? Because we've talked a lot about both of them in the DB. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Good. I listened well then.
Yeah, you did.
All right,
well
awesome.
done. I was starting you off kind of easy. This is going to be Lincoln again.
Okay.
He said, he's done a great job. I think he's been exactly what I thought he would be, and that's very professional in his approach. He's learned a lot of ball throughout his career, and you can tell that he takes that knowledge in. He can process it quickly. He goes out there and operates, to me, almost like you were the NFL and signed a 10-year veteran blank position group. I mean, it just kind of feels that way.
Okay. Again, I have not heard this, and my mind immediately went to offensive line.
Okay.
I don't know. I keep looking at you when I say stuff. Okay.
I know.
I'm just gonna say it without giving. I'm gonna go John Ray Reed.
Sam Heward.
Sam Heward. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I thought offense right away. I thought maybe O-line. Sam Heward. Okay. Cool. I love that. That's the perfect description of a backup quarterback that you want. A veteran backup in your room that can help Hassan Longstreet, a 5-star that can help a Jade Mayava, who's still pretty early on in his college career. I know he's going to be a junior, but still pretty fresh. And okay, cool. I like that. That's a great quote for Sam Heward.
I thought the 10-year veteran was going to give it away. I thought you were going to be like, boom,
Well, I immediately thought John Ray Reed because of the experience he has at Syracuse, 25-plus starts. And when you come in, you have to be vocal. You have to be a leader. You want a solid player in that center spot. That's where I went first. But okay, Sam Heward. That makes, as a quarterback, I'm happy to hear that one.
Okay, so this is going to be a switch up in our style. This is Joey Olson talking about someone. He said, blank has stepped in. He's done a great job with blocking and receiving. He's really helped me out in a lot of all those aspects. I'm ready to learn and learn more from him.
Okay, so tight end, obviously. It doesn't. So obviously he's not talking about a coach, so it's not Chad Savage. He's talking about someone in that room. I mean, the veteran in there is Lake McCree, but I don't think you'd be talking about Lake McCree, and I don't think you'd give me that because that'd be too easy.
Or am I?
Or are you? All right, I'm going to give a second stall for time here for our viewers at home, not for myself.
Totally.
I'm torn between Walker Lyons, who got a little bit of experience, and then Walter Matthews is the other guy that I'm thinking of.
You are wrong. Now, I chose this quote because it's kind of tricky. He's actually talking about Chad Savage.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Wait. Hold on. He's talking about Chad Savage. Okay, read it again.
Blank has stepped in. He's done a great job with blocking and receiving. That's what sounds tricky.
Okay, it sounds like he's a player.
But then he said, he's really helped me out in those aspects.
Yeah.
I'm ready to learn and learn more from him.
Okay, that was a good one.
We got to trick you a little bit.
That was a trick question. That was good.
Yep. This is a player on another player.
Okay.
He said he's becoming a better vocal leader for our team. He's really stepped up into that role, being a leader for this team, getting his guys going. He's just really maturing as a blank and a guy off the field, just growing into an older guy on the team, stepping up when guys need it most.
Oh, that could be anyone. And I'm guessing who said this about who?
Yes, if you want to go extra credit.
Okay. I have no idea. I mean, the guy that I thought of about who it was said about was Christian Pierce, but you've already given me a Christian Pierce one, so
I have.
It's not. The other guy that came to mind was it being said about Jaden Mayava.
Okay.
Because we've talked about him being a bigger leader, and Coach Riley has mentioned him in that aspect. Now, Okay, is it Jade Mayava? Was it said about Jade Mayava?
It was said about
Okay,
Jade
cool.
Mayava.
All right.
Good job.
If I get it right,
I was trying not to break.
I know. Give it to me if I got it right.
I didn't know if that was your final answer.
Yes, Jade Mayava
Okay.
was said about Jade Mayava, and I'm torn between Jacoby Lane or Mekhi Lemon who said it. Because those are the two, in my opinion, or Lake McCree's another veteran, but those are the two guys who would probably talk highly about their quarterback.
Fair.
So I'm going to go with Jacoby Lane saying it about Jade Mayava. Final answer.
It was Brian Jackson.
Brian Jackson.
Yeah.
The young guy said that.
But
Okay.
he's like in this role now he's like kind of the vet. But
Yeah,
not. It's
he
very
is.
interesting.
He has the most touches in Cardinal and Gold at the running back position. Now, obviously, Eli Sanders and Wayman Jordan have played a lot of college football in their career, but he had 36 touches last year, and he's our most experienced returner in the running back room. Okay, I like it. That's cool, though. When you have a younger guy like Brian Jackson recognizing that and noticing that about your quarterback, that speaks volumes, right? Because normally the veterans look for that, but if a younger guy who's going to follow those leaders sees that's what you want to see.
Alrighty, the final one is trickier than the rest. It's
Okay.
kind of vague in that regard, and I apologize.
These have been pretty hard, though, I will say.
You nailed it from the start.
You know what, though? You could. I know the Chad Savage one, though, just that. As soon as you
I
hit
know,
me with
sorry.
he's doing great at running, or he's doing great at blocking and catching, or helping me with other things. I'm thinking, all right, what player is it? Well, Lake McCree's the only veteran in there, and then I'm like, Walter Matthews and Walker Lyons are both the same age, basically,
yes, we
as
heard you
Joey
when
Olsen.
You said this. I know. I'm sorry.
All right,
I'm sorry.
Here we go. I'm ready, though.
Okay.
I'm ready. Hit me with the last one.
This is a player talking about his bond with another player.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
He said, it's good, he's an older cat, so he's bringing a lot of energy to the team. I'm definitely learning a lot from him in the film room and coming out here competing with him.
He's an older cat.
He's an older cat. And I feel like that is a tell in itself.
That sounds like it's an old soul coach right now saying he's an older cat.
Well, it's player and player.
All right, player talking about his bond with another player. All right, so older cat, I don't know why my mind immediately goes to the front seven.
Okay.
Either D-line or linebacker or maybe
Meaning
offensive line.
Who's saying older cat or
Yeah.
who is the older cat?
Who's saying older cat.
Okay.
I don't think a wide receiver, a DB, a quarterback, running back would use the term older cat.
Okay.
I feel like an O-line, D-line's that type of old. So I'm going to go D-line.
Okay.
I'm going to go with maybe one of the younger guys. It sounds like, though, he said he read it one more time, and then I'll have my final answer.
Okay. It's good, he's an older cat, so he's bringing a lot of energy to the team. I'm definitely learning a lot from him in the film room and coming out here and competing with him.
Okay, so he's bringing a lot of energy to the team. Makes me sound like he's a new player. He's a transfer. Okay, I'm going to go D-line. I'm torn between Jade Avasiri, Devin Tompkins, or Cameron Fountain, one of the younger guys.
Okay.
I think they're talking about Keyshawn Silver.
Okay.
Is the guy I'm thinking about. Obviously, your reaction's not true, but I'm not going to sit here and try to guess
That's
forever.
That's a great guess.
I'm going to go.
But that's wrong.
Okay, I'm going to go. Well, what I was going to go with was maybe a Devin Tompkins or a Cameron Fountain talking about a Keyshawn Silver.
Okay.
Being a new face on the defensive line. But since that's wrong, I'm going to go secondary guess. I'm going to go with Elijah Page talking about Jean-Ray Reed is my secondary guess.
Once again, you get a half point.
Okay.
It is about Jean-Ray Reed.
Okay.
Great
Who
job.
on the offensive line says older cat?
It's not on the offensive line. It's Jaden Mayava.
What? Wait a minute. Jade Mayava said he's an older cat and he brings a lot of experience to the offense.
That is so Jaden Mayava.
Is it? Okay, I haven't got to talk to him in person yet.
You should, because he's funny that way.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, yeah, I would have never. I'll say this. I thought of, all right, who's an older veteran? I thought maybe Keyshawn Silver. I know he's only a junior, but a guy that's played a little bit of football. I was thinking maybe a defensive lineman said it, and then Jean-Ray Reed obviously is a veteran as well on offense. So Jaden Mayava said that. All right.
An older cat.
All right, those of you keeping score at home, tally those up. Let me know how I did.
Yeah, please let me know.
I think that was fairly well.
I think you
I
did a
will
great
say,
job.
though, this game, we need to do this more, too. Maybe another spring segment
Sure.
if we get a chance. But it's so difficult because I know you know the answer because you're looking at it. But, like, when you don't know, my
anyone.
brain, it puts, like, okay, this guy could have said that about that guy. And all of them make sense. You just have to really get down in the details. You got to know the players a little bit better. But that was
sure.
good. Let us know if you enjoyed that segment. I had fun doing it.
Now that we have one under our belt, I might have Crash just do it for the both of us. So
Okay.
we'll both go
Yeah,
in blind.
there we go.
So-
Let's compete
so
on
we'll
it.
see. Yeah,
Okay.
no, for sure. Shout out to Crash for putting that together. He put it together at like 9
Yeah,
p.m. last
that's
night
awesome.
when I got my inspiration. Also, funny thing, he misheard Jean-Ray Reed, and for some reason his brain flashed back and said Jalen Green. So I got the notes, and I was like, Jaden Mayava on Jalen Green?
Like Jalen Green that was here when I was here,
yes,
quarterback?
Yes.
And played a little receiver too?
Yes.
Let's go. Shout out JG.
I figured that you would appreciate that because I saw that, and I was like, what year am I in, and what roster is this?
Jalen Green's an awesome guy. Yeah,
yes,
shout out JG.
But he was not mentioned by Jaden Mayava.
Okay.
Alrighty, Cody, let's head over into questions. Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. Focus matters. Listen closely. The Audi Q8 e-tron's cabin is serenely quiet, so you can focus on other things like having tomorrow's technology today. The new fully electric Audi Q8 e-tron, how we get there matters. And at Ralph's, everyone wins when it comes to saving big because when you order online through the Ralph's app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in store. So no matter how you shop, you always save big at Ralph's. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Fight on. Alrighty, Cody, we have a question. I ended with Sam on the last episode. I'm going to start with Sam with this episode. Not intentionally.
Is this going to be a season-long thing now? Is it going to be the Sam and Keely beef? I mean,
he's trolling me. So
he is. Okay, is he?
But that's been his thing. That's
all right,
his
let's hear
MO.
it.
He
I'm
said,
ready.
do you think we'll see a lot more 12 personnel next season compared to last year? Lions looks like a future star at tight end, whereas the depth at wide receiver after Lane and Lemon is much more of a question mark. Don't worry, Keely. This is 100% on topic, super serious USC football question this time.
I'm glad he had that at the end because I'm like, wait, Sam asked, we're on topic here today?
Yes, but 3 minutes later, he said, sorry, I lied. I have another question.
Okay,
That will come later.
Let me address this one first. Sam, I don't know. I think we will see a lot more 12 personnel. We did a year ago, too, when we had Cade Eldridge in there with Lake McCree. Lake got hurt, so that forced Walker to play a little bit more during the season, but that experience is going to help him this year. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially in the conference that we're playing in, want to make a point of emphasis to be able to run the football. We got some new key pieces up front, so I wouldn't mind seeing some 12 personnel. Let Wayman Jordan get in there, Eli Sanders, Brian Jackson, who he knows a downhill runner, and get some of those packages down on third and short or maybe closer to the goal line. But I think at the end of the day, our DNA is going to be that 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers, throw the football over the field, but still be balanced, right? We've got to be able to run the ball with a younger quarterback. You want to be able to have both a passing and running attack and keep defenses, on their heels and not know what's coming next. But I would like to see us getting some 12, maybe 13 personnel with 3 tight ends in there. If Joey Olsen or Walter Matthews and some of these younger guys are starting to develop, Walker Lyons, and go in there and get some power packages as well. But that's a great question, Sam. We'll see. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on with, some of the receivers that we lost a year ago and some younger guys having to step up if we do lean on some more of these pass-catching tight ends.
And that's what I'm curious about because we talked to Lake McCree, and he was not called out, but someone was like, didn't you walk in senior day? And he was like, yeah, I had some decisions to make, but part of those
Wait, did he really?
He did, apparently.
Okay.
Which is funny to me. This is inside baseball, but if you go back in one of the bowl game practices, the last Coliseum practice, I was like, are you coming back? And he said, yeah, but then he walked, and I was like, I am so confused about what you're doing right now, but he's back, obviously.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'm glad he's back. Yeah, hey, go for it. I'm glad you walked. I'm glad you got to experience that. Wasn't for you, come on back because we'll take Lake for another year.
For sure. And one of the motivations he said in coming back was talking to both Coach Riley and Hansen at the time, and he said they definitely want to get the tight ends more involved in the receiving game.
Love it.
And I just think it's fun almost to see that there's now a bigger opportunity. It feels like now that third wide receiver is not really solidified. Obviously, we wish the best for those receivers as well. If someone's going to step up in that position, go for it. But if we do see more tight ends, I would be excited to see that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and when you think 12 personnel, you immediately think, we're going to run the football, 2 tight ends, power run game.
Sure.
We threw the ball a lot last year out of that 12 personnel. Right now, Lake McCree was the main target. Cade Eldridge didn't get a ton of targets, and Walker Lyons was still fairly new and learning the playbook and getting acclimated to the college game. But now, with that experience under their belt, and Joey Olsen, who's played receiver before and has experience of playing in the slot, and now you have Chad Savage, who coaches both tight ends and inside receivers, can help those guys develop as route runners and all of that. I wouldn't be surprised if we get in 12 personnel and we also throw the football over the field.
De La Cruz had an interesting question. He said, why do some offensive coaches still have their quarterbacks turn their back to the defense on play-action passes? Do you think the trade-off is worth it?
Yeah, 100%. Now, the reason you do that is when you hand the ball off on just a simple run play, you turn your back to the defense, right? Because I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm turning around, I'm handing the ball off. You want it to look exactly the same, whether it's a handoff or play action, right? So how do you sell that? Turn your back to the defense, head fake everything, extend the ball out, then we get our head around. But the first thing they teach you, De La Cruz, as a quarterback, and all my young quarterbacks listening at home, after you turn your back after that play action, the very first thing that goes is my head and eyes. You've got to get your eyes back around, see what the defense is doing. But yeah, you have to do it because you want the run game and play action to look exactly the same to bring those linebackers up and then have advantages in the pass game.
It was crazy. I feel like I saw your mind switch into like quarterback
Coaching mode.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was crazy. I could just see it in real time.
And I get what he's asking, because when you turn your back, you're not seeing what's happening behind you. Then you got to turn around in real time and then figure out what's going on and process quickly. But if I'm going to go hand off just a straight downhill run, I'm going to turn my back and my head to the defense, hand it off. I want it to look exactly the same on play action. I know I'm getting away from my mic, but look exactly the same on play action, and then get your eyes and head around so then you can process what's going on defensively.
So to just reiterate his question, you think that consistency is worth it?
Yes,
even
has
if
to
you
happen.
have to kind of speed up your
Absolutely.
clock?
Listen to Peyton Manning talk about play action. Tom Brady, I was with in New England. He took a lot of pride, Peyton Manning, in play action. There's sometimes quarterbacks at home, and something I had to learn in college, to where if it's a run, I'm selling out all out. I'm getting the ball to my running back, handing it off, and then I'm carrying out my fake. If it's a play action, I kind of slow a little bit. I want to be quick and not sell the fake because I'm worried about getting my eyes around, to De La Cruz's point. I don't want to get caught off guard. But it helps you so much, and it's so advantageous if you can really make that play action look like the run game, then get your eyes around, because you're going to put the linebackers and the defense in a bind, and then you're going to open up holes on that side of the ball.
Which is crazy because, I talk about it all the time, but you just illuminate all the time to me how much those little details, those seconds, milliseconds where a defender will hesitate, how much that matters. So it's just crazy when you give us that.
Well, if I'm trying to throw an in cut at 18 yards right down the field where they're breaking in, and I go play action, and the linebacker only gets to 10 instead of 12, and he's late on his drop, that is a big difference of what type of throw. I'm going to put it on a line. I'm going to throw a 2-ball. If the window closes too quickly, that's how you hold him with that play action. So, yeah, you get back. And this is stuff that seems like a little detail here, but it is over emphasized in the film room when you're running those play action type of plays, because you got to find those advantages.
So many layers to it.
Yeah.
Great question, De La Cruz. If anyone wants to ask questions that activate football nerd Cody,
please do.
Please do,
I enjoy
especially in
that
the offseason. We love it. Now, something we haven't mentioned but did transpire was that Amarion Peterson entered the transfer portal. Amy wanted to know what do you think his motivations are?
Yeah, I think Amarion Peterson just unfortunately was the guy that got buried on the depth chart a year ago with, Quentin Joyner being here, and we saw the flashes that he had with Woody Marks came in, and he stepped up big time. Brian Jackson started to develop well, and it just felt like it was tough for him to find his place in that running back room. He ended up becoming the 4th running back, and he's a very good, talented football player. He wants a chance to go play somewhere else, and I don't blame him. It's tough when you see a guy that stays here, that competes, that works hard, just doesn't quite work out for them, to feel like, now you're leaving, and you get frustrated at him. That's not the case. I wish him nothing but the best. I just think it comes down to simply he wants to be a starter elsewhere. He wants to go play somewhere else. He wants to go be able to be on the field. Can't knock him for that. I can't blame him for that. Then we bring in Wayman Jordan, and we bring in Eli Sanders, guys that are veterans that are probably going to jump him on the depth chart, right? And then Brian Jackson is a guy that's already got ahead of him a year ago. It just makes sense for him to go, and I can't blame him. As much as I love USC football, and I'm sure Amarion Peterson does as well, you got to put yourself first in some of those situations. So wish him nothing but the best. He's never said one bad thing about Trojan football. He'll be a Trojan forever, but wherever else he goes, I hope he goes out there and balls out and has a successful career.
Jonathan said, do you really notice the difference that off-season weight training makes?
Yeah. I played quarterback, so I wasn't out there lifting too crazy or trying to hit PRs every time we were in the weight room. But, yeah, I think absolutely. I think more specifically, you notice a difference in the offseason as opposed to in season, right? In the offseason, you're trying to gain, you're trying to put on size or lose fat, whatever it may be, lose body fat, whatever prototypical or ideal size for your position that you want to get to. That's what the offseason is for. Once you get in season, all about maintaining, right? You want to keep that same strength that you put on, or you don't want to put on too much weight. You want to stay in the best shape you can to go out there and perform at a high level. But the offseason is all about getting to where you need to be. And it's hard. There's 5 a.m. runs. There's the Coliseum runs. There's crazy lifts in the weight room, 2-hour workouts. There's a lot more you do in the offseason as opposed to in season, but it's all worth it, right? And that's what you sign up for. If you want to be a high-level college athlete, those offseason workouts better pay off. But, yeah, I mean, playing quarterback, I didn't notice him too much, but from a conditioning standpoint, from doing dropbacks, from mentally going out there and working with your brothers and being a leader and those early morning hard workouts outside of maybe the weightlifting, yeah, I absolutely noticed a difference when it was the offseason.
Now, we got a question from Shong Tong, and he's given us a lot of questions, so I don't believe it's nefarious. I just also don't understand the reference.
Okay.
He said, on a scale from 0 to 81. How excited are you for this season?
That is
why 81?
Very specific. I don't know either. I don't know why he came up with that
Please
number.
clarify.
But yeah, please do. I'm going 81 though. I'm
Okay.
pumped. I think that year 4, the Riley era, there's a lot of good things happening with this program. Very excited. Obviously it's spring ball, so we got a long way to go. But yeah, I'm going 81. I'm fully excited for this season.
Turns out it's like an inverted scale, and you totally answered it correctly.
Yeah,
No,
what
I'm
if
just kidding.
this has got to be like some trend on like Twitter or TikTok or something?
did a
Sean Tong,
quick-
if you're setting us up for failure right now.
Banned.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I will say, shout out Sean Tong though, because he was one of the listeners that was shouting me out and tweeting me during Good Morning Football. Was very
Yay,
supportive. So
good.
huge shout out to him. But hopefully he's not setting us up for failure right now and pulling a fast one on us.
I'd hope not. Okay, our next question is from Trojan Mom. She said, what's your favorite part of spring football so far? And I have to admit, I had something come into my mind immediately when I first read this. So it was a great moment in these scrums. So just to give the context, Jamal Jarrett goes by Jaw. Jakeem Stewart also goes by Jaw.
Uh-oh.
So how do you go about that? Well,
Yeah.
we found out a little bit more in a scrum when a reporter asked about the progress of Jakeem Stewart to Jamal Jarrett, kind of giving an evaluation from an older perspective. And he goes, oh, little man, little Jaw?
Yeah.
And so obviously the proper follow-up was, so if he's little Jaw, are you big Jaw? And he was like, oh, you definitely know that.
Jamal Jarrett was waiting for that too. He had that teed up, ready to go.
The confidence he had in which he said that and the sass, it was just incredible.
Someone now, well, I don't want to, I'd be afraid to ask Thanos this question, but someone, I'm going to nominate you, next time Jakeem Stewart or whenever he does get to be interviewed, do they interview freshmen during spring? Is he going to get a chance?
It's at the discretion of Coach Riley,
okay,
so
well,
it depends.
The
So
very
we'll see.
first time he does an interview, I'm daring you. I'm not going to do it. I'm backing out. Someone needs to say, hey, Little Jaw, and then ask him a question.
Are you
after
kidding
and
me?
see how
The fact that someone of his stature and size can have little in his name
Yeah, no kidding.
is incredible.
Well,
to
Jamal
me.
Jarrett's 6'5", 350 too, so I think he's
Fair.
He's allowed to say that.
Maybe it denotes age, not size.
That's what it is. But I'll say this too, and people ask me all the time, do you miss playing football, right? And I got everything out of it, right? I played in the NFL. I got to do everything I wanted to. I don't miss the hits. I don't miss all of that. The early mornings, the meetings, all of those things. That's what I do miss right there. The camaraderie with your teammates, the joking around, the locker room, the guys that I got to play with. That's what I do miss the most. So that's cool to see. And that's important too about the relationship, the foundation.
Yeah.
When you have a younger guy, a transfer guy, and they're already
new guys.
getting along like that. And obviously that's been put in place by Coach Riley and his staff and the players that he's brought to this program. But for me, favorite moment, and I haven't got to see a lot, offensive guy, the one-handed catches by Jacoby, both of them. The one where he caught and kind of spun around, which was unbelievable. I know he had that. The back shoulder one that he had, great ball by
We're gonna
Mayava.
preview it.
Yeah, I know we're about
Or
to.
look at it.
And then the touchdown interception topic that people are going back and forth on. Those have been my favorite moments so far.
Well, that's actually our next question, so let's just get into it. It's from Avro. He says, do you have the D. Nick versus Jacoby Lane as a catch or interception? And I'm going to put it on the screen now so you can witness it if you haven't already.
Okay, well, you're asking a quarterback here, but I'm going to be unbiased. I'm going to give my authentic answer. This is one of those to where does the call in the field play a factor? I think in real time, it does look like an interception, right? And I think that's what would be the call on the field is they're going to call an interception. It looked like, okay, DeCarlos Nicholson ripped it out of his hands. Great effort by both guys. Let me say that first and foremost. This was an unbelievable play by two of our better players on this team. But I think in real time, it would have been called an interception. Obviously, the play would have got reviewed. They review all turnovers, all touchdowns, anything like that. So after further review, and again, being unbiased, the initial catch is no. The ball is still loose. As soon as he has it, Carlos Nicholson does a great job of getting the ball out, and you can see him jar it loose. The secondary catch and the hand strength by Jacoby Lane as he's going down, in my opinion, he has full control when his back hits the ground. He continues to maintain control through that, and then the ball is ripped out of his hands. But I think by then, if they go back and watch it in slow motion, it's going to be called a touchdown. 6 points for the offense. That's what we want. Let's go, baby.
Look, I'm going to refrain from any snarky comments about the review process.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say on that front. But if you were wondering what the Twitter poll reaction was, it was 89.8% touchdown.
Yeah.
10.2% interception.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the right answer.
Almost 20,000 votes.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This was a big topic. And like I said, initially, I think it would have been called an interception in real time because it was so bang, bang, right? And it depends on the view that the referee had, but it looked like in real time, he rips it out before he has control and before he hits the ground, and then he takes off with the ball. Not even from that angle. I'm just saying from a ref on the field watching from the sideline. But then, obviously, when you get slow motion, get the camera angles. And that's not the only camera angle they'll have. They'll have multiple views. it's obviously, in my opinion, a touchdown, and that's what we like to see. But huge, I don't want to take away from DeCarlos Nicholson. That's a great play there.
Yeah.
Because when it's not bang bang or it's not Jacoby Lane and you're going against another receiver that doesn't have that catch radius and that hand strength, that's probably going to be an interception.
Well, on the topic of hand strength, we have to mention the fact that USC's first Jacoby Lane clip to come out from spring camp was insane. To me, it kind of looked like CGI, just the way that he was able to grip the ball. Take it away, Cody. What did you see there?
Yeah, I mean, on this route right here, so you're going to see it's called a bench or a circus route. So he's going to stem inside. And this is great coverage again by DeCarlos Nicholson. I'm starting to feel bad for him because he's in the right place at the right time, but then he's going to stem inside here, push vertical. Now you have a corner route. If the DB's over the top, I break it flat. If he's on my hip, I take it high. The quarterback and the receiver have to be on the same page. Great ball here. I don't know who the quarterback was. I'll say it's Mayava, I'm assuming, that was up there with him. But the catch is unbelievable. And you know what, Keely? We keep talking about these catches by Jacoby Lane and how impressive it is. There's another one-hander that he had on, I think, an inside slot fade where he caught it one-handed. It's becoming a regular Tuesday for Jacoby Lane now. These are unbelievable plays. This one, though, to me, is most impressive because of the body control, the hand strength, like you mentioned, and be able to do it all in one motion. Because, again, this is great coverage. The ball, too, it's a great ball. It's a little underthrown. You like it a little more over the top. But just give Aid a chance. I don't care. Throw it in his radius, in his area. His catch radius, his ability to go up and get the football out of the air is so impressive. It is a safety, a security blanket as a quarterback. It is a great feeling to have a guy like that. But, yeah, for him to catch that ball, one hand, spin, and then immediately celebrate right after because he knew he caught it. You don't see that a lot, even at the NFL level. That is high-level stuff. And, again, he just does it every single day, it feels like, and I can't wait to see how he carries that over to the field this year.
Couple more questions. SoCal Flo said, was it that simple? All we needed to hire was Chad Bowden to get local recruits. Honest answers only. Please no fluff or coach speak.
Yeah, I mean, my honest answer with that is no, it's not that simple to just hire Chad Bowden and one man changes everything, but I promise you it helps so much for Coach Riley to take a lot of pressure off of his plate, right? As a head coach
so many responsibilities
in today's era of college football, and that's not just Coach Riley, that's everywhere. The way that the game is adapting, you are wearing 20 different hats, right? You're a head coach. You're the voice of the program. You're the face of the program. You have to go out in front of the media. You have to handle all these different things that happen. Now you have multiple portal windows that you have to know who's entering the portal, who is leaving from our team, what are some areas that we have to fix, what are some areas we need to bring some guys in, where do we have too many guys, and guys are getting buried on the depth chart, right? There's some issues there. Then you have to go out and focus on retention. We want to keep some guys on the roster that are good young players that may have not got a lot of playing time this year and they want to go elsewhere, or there's other NIL deals. Then you have to go out and work on donations and go to House of Victory events. There's just so many things you have to do. And also, by the way, you got to go out and win football games, right?
Yeah.
And that's what gets lost in all of this is you're not just a coach anymore. You have so many different responsibilities. That's why you go out and get a general manager. That's why you go out and get Chad Bowden. That's why it's been the success that we've had. And it's a collaboration between the both of them when it comes to making decisions on the roster. But now Coach Riley can put majority of his time in coaching this football team. And he has a guy like Chad Bowden that he trusts that can go out there and put 100% of his time in building this roster and recruiting and getting all the things that need to be done. And it takes so much of that off of Coach Riley's plate just everywhere in the country right now. And you see some of these coaches that are retiring, that aren't sticking around, that didn't want to do or keep coaching with the way that college football is going and all those things. I get it because there's a lot more going on now than there was 5-10 years ago. But now that they're starting to get analytical people and general managers and it's turning into the NFL, It makes it a lot easier. So, yeah, short answer, no. Hiring Chad Bowden just didn't fix everything, but I promise you it helped Coach Riley and this entire staff take a huge step forward in getting the things they wanted to get done with now more time in the day because there's other people helping out.
Okay, as promised, Sam did have another question. He said, okay, I lied. I do have a random off-topic question. Cody, did you name your kid after a golfer? Because it would have been very on-brand if you did. Do you know which golfer he's talking about?
Yeah, he's talking about – so my son's name is Brooks Taylor Kessler. He's talking about Brooks Koepka.
Okay.
It is a famous golfer. No, Sam, I did not. I'm a big fan of Brooks Koepka. I think he's a great golfer. But no, that is not how that came about. Listen, I and you're flashing me back here. I love my wife more than anything in this world. I love my dog, my son more than anything in this world. The Kessler household was probably never will be again until we have another kid, but was never as divided as it was when it came to naming our son.
Really?
And it was a long process. And we started thinking of names before my wife even got pregnant.
Wow.
Right? So you have 9 months during the pregnancy to come up with a name. We thought of it probably a year and a half in advance.
Wow.
Well, we've been together now for a long time, so we've been talking before that. But yeah, we went back and forth so many times. And it kind of started out as these are the names she loves, these are the names I loved. No matches. We didn't have any common names, right?
Okay.
We were hoping for that. We both were like, okay, absolutely not. And then she looked at my list. Absolutely not. I don't like that one. Fair. All right. If we don't love it, we don't love it. Even if you aren't open for discussion. So then we had some names we were open for discussion. We just weren't budging. We were both set on like, okay, I like this, I like that. So Brooks wasn't even on the list initially. So then we, and we would talk for like 5 to 10 minutes about it. And my wife and I hardly ever fight. And I mean, I'm not saying that in a bragging way. Like we don't fight. We find common ground. We do a good job with that.
Yeah.
We're both very open to be like, oh, this is what you think. Okay, let me figure that out. And it took a while to get there. Obviously, it wasn't right off the bat, but we're very good with that stuff. It took a lot of biting my tongue and her. We had to be very thoughtful on the way that we talked during the naming of our son. It's a big thing. You're naming a human being. Yeah, for the rest of his life.
Insane.
But anyway, so we talk about it for like 5-10 minutes saying, I like this name, I like that name. No common ground was made. Change it. Hey, you want to order some food? Yeah, let's order some food. Let's move on. 2-3 weeks would go by. Hey, you want to talk about names again? I guess. Same thing. No ground was made. So finally we get towards the end and Brooks, I don't remember where Brooks came from, but Paige and my wife bought, I love her to death. She bought 2 books that had like 5,000 names in them each. Like crazy, country type names and masculine names and, all these different categories. So Brooks got picked out of nowhere pretty much. And then we were like, I like that. We both were like, all right. Neither of us, that was on our list initially.
A neutral ground.
Neutral ground. I was like, I like it too. I was like, okay. So we finally agreed. We've got a name. Yay. What do you want his middle name to be? Right back to square one. It was starting all over. And then Taylor, I mean, we tried some family names. None of them really worked, right, with Brooks, and they didn't really roll. You want the middle name to roll, and we couldn't really find a family name that worked. Taylor was kind of a late contender in it all, and I think I mentioned it towards the end. I said, okay, these were some of I was giving you updates and stuff about names, but we didn't solidify that. We said, all right, we like Taylor. It'll be on the list, but it's not at the top. Literally the day after he was born, the next morning they come in with paperwork that you fill out, full government name, all of that.
This is your human, please certify.
Yeah, basically. And we're sitting there looking at each other and we were like, Taylor? And she's like, yeah, Taylor, I like it. And I'm like, are we set? And she's like, yeah, we're set.
Wild.
And my wife, God bless her, just went through childbirth and all of that and had a C-section and was crazy. And she's sitting there all stitched up and trying to get her life back together. And she has to sit there and make these big decisions. And then she was phenomenal. I mean, she's a superhero in my eyes. So if she was good with it at that point, after what I saw her go through, I was fully on board. I was even open to some of the other middle names after that. But yeah, Brooks Taylor Kessler is how it came about. Sam, I appreciate that question. Anytime I can talk about my kid, I love it. It's been the coolest blessing of my life. We've had a blast getting to be parents. There's some tough times, but he's going to ask too when he grows up, hey, where'd my name come from? And we're going to get to tell him the story.
Look at the Victory Podcast.
Yeah, go watch the Victory Podcast from 2025 and you'll figure it out. But no, there's a lot more details that went into that. That's kind of the shortened version, although I kind of rambled a little bit. But yeah, it was a fun experience, and I can't wait for the next one that we get to name.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be a challenge again.
Is there a part to it where you're like, you see them actually face to face and you're like, are you Brooks? Like
there's a part, I wouldn't say initially, but there's a part now to where I could never see him be named anything else. And he's only been in this world for 3 months. Yeah. Now he's coming up on coming up on 4 months actually on the 14th.
Oh wow.
But it's now to the point to where like I look at the other names we had, when you look at them, I'm like, I just could not imagine naming you any of these other names that we had. Like you're Brooks Taylor Kessler. You'll always be that. And we call him Brooks Taylor all the time, and it rolls.
Cute.
And yeah, no. So we got some nicknames going now too. So yeah, it's awesome. Sam, seriously, thank you for that question. I know I rambled a little bit, but anytime I can talk about my son, I'm going to do that. And for those of you who don't know, this is my first kid, so I'm new to all this, and it's been a crazy process, but yeah, it's been the biggest blessing of my life.
It's incredible because when I call you to schedule things, it's just Brooks making his presence known.
Yep. Yesterday when you called me, we were talking about the podcast. I'm like, hey, he's crying, screaming. He had a dirty diaper. I'm like, Brooks, can you keep it down, buddy? I'm on the phone. Like, we joke. We have a good time with it.
He gets your sarcasm,
I'll tell you what, knock on wood, though, he's been, and I know this is the famous last words of parents, but he's been awesome. It's been some tough nights. There's been some sleepless nights, but we're figuring this parenting thing out, right? We work well together. My wife's amazing. Again, she's a superhero. Paige, I love you. You are so awesome. My dog's been great too. Super protective, right? Everywhere he goes or everywhere Brooks goes, Coda has to be right next to him.
Security detail. It's
been awesome. Yeah. And then we're moving into a new place. So now we've got he's got a new room, a bigger room, and we're getting that all set up. So it's been really cool.
Well, speaking of, thank you for coming in and doing this episode today. I know you're tired from moving.
Yeah,
this week
it's been a crazy week.
A 3-month-old. So I appreciate it.
I would not advise anybody that has a newborn to go and move spots right after that too.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would, but you're crazy and we love you for it, Cody. So thank you for coming in.
Yeah, with that being said, I'll wrap it up there. I love you guys. It's been great. I wish we had more we could talk about inside the walls of spring ball and getting to the spring game and all of that. But again, just stay tuned. We're going to talk about all the topics that come out, all the quotes that we have. Some great stuff, again, today to talk about and some great insight from these coaches. But love you guys. Don't know if we'll be able to do the next couple weeks with Good Morning Football. So please, if you can, record that. Yeah, watch that. It'll be fun. It'll be during the draft week. But with that being said, I am done. I'm going to go home to my son, my wife, and my dog. And fight on. Love you guys. That is all I have.
You heard the man. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's Cody. I'm Keely. We'll see y'all next time.